Welcome to Out West Country Living. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you very much. If you watched the first part of this two-part series, you know that we had planned on staying into Mallard-Larkins until Monday. But the bugs were so bad the first night we were in there that we decided that we would not stay because the goats just could not settle down and rest. They paced and paced around our tent all night long. We woke up early on Saturday morning and headed over to the lakes to have a look and take some pictures. It was a lovely day, and the bugs weren't that bad in the heat of the day. We encountered a hiker coming out of Heart Lake who said that he'd been stuck in his tent the day before because the mosquitoes were so bad. We had already been warned about going into Heart Lake, especially with the goats, because as you get over on that far side, there was a couple of snowdrifts still that made it very dicey, and they had to practically crawl across, so it would not be wise for us, and we turned around before we got to that point. We packed up and headed out about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were back at the camper by, I would say, maybe 5. So we relaxed, opened up the goat barn so it could cool out, had some supper, and then we headed back home. We hated to leave early, but it was an enjoyable trip in spite of the bugs, and someday we'd like to go back later in the seasons to see if the bugs are better. We've heard that they're not nearly as bad in September as they are earlier in the spring. Too cold to drink?
No. Wonderful.
It had been about 40 years since Rob had been into this area, and it had been about 30 to 35 years for me. Both of us had previously come in on horses. The first time I came in, the only time I came in, we went into Heart Lake. I was on a young horse, and when we came up out of the lake, there's kind of a flat rock that's tipped, and my horse got all 4 hooves sliding on that. So I went off over his back end, and he fell down and skinned up his knees, but other than that, he was okay. What we didn't know at that time was that a fellow from our area had also gone in there the week before, but when his horse started having issues on that rock, he had gone off the side, and of course then he gave her kind of a push, and she had gone over the cliff and died. So it's a dangerous place if you're on horseback, and you want to be sure and be careful.
Bite me or I'll pump you. So if I give you something, I gotta give everybody else some. There ain't enough for me, but you guys.
I'm going to do on this board.